The foundation of each restaurant is myself as a Laotian chef. In the beginning, it was very hard as I'm discovering the identity of each restaurant, but it evolves. My name is Ahmed, and I'm the chef and owner of Lat 14, Kelowna, and Kainoi. Oh gosh, where do I start? I feel like I was born to do this. It started at a very young age. My mom was a single mom. We were refugees. Minnesota became our home. When I was in my teens, my mom had sent me to live with my grandmother, and then I just kind of took it upon myself to be her assistant, or it just made sense to just help my grandma around the house, which meant that back again in the kitchen a lot. And so I feel like that's where I've always been, and that's where I'm really comfortable. A strong foundation for my style of cooking definitely lies within being in the kitchen with my mom and my grandmother. I wouldn't necessarily call them teachers. I think it's like, like any mom, we're just trying to get through the day, the meal, and get through our day. And so it's like the kid hanging in the kitchen. So I wasn't that annoying kid. So, I would start really close to them, and then they would be like, oh, can you go sit over there? So I would then, most likely, I was observing in the corners of the kitchen. But then I think my grandmother started to trust me, oh, she understands a couple of these things. Oh, she's good with a knife, or she's careful, she can take directions well. So then I got more tasks. It wasn't like, hey, we're gonna, follow this recipe, but it was more like, watch me, and you need to learn from it. I'm a very tactile learner. So I like to see, I like to smell, I like to touch. And so it was a lot of tasting, because nothing was really written. So I had to memorize the flavors and the taste and the texture and the way it looked. Each of my dish, the foundation of it is it's comfort. I always ask myself, when I'm creating something, is this something I want to eat? Is this something that I would want to share with somebody? When I opened up Lat 14, lemongrass was probably about 10, 13 years old at the time. So it took me a really long time to have the courage to open the second restaurant. I felt like, okay, finally I get to open the restaurant of my dreams. I wanted it to be romantic. I wanted it to be moody. I wanted people to enjoy Asian Southeast cuisine in a really nice kind of setting. And then Kelowna came along. So Lat 14 was in 2018. Kelowna was, the pandemic happened February of 2020. I just got back from this chef's retreat in Laos. I was inspired. I was ready to come back and be all about Lao food and create more things on the menu. And then the pandemic happened and we were forced to stay home. When you were stuck at home and all you could do is dream and fantasize, my dream was really big. I had dreamed about in Asia, all of these beautiful lounges and hotel restaurants, and it's so airy and luxurious and it's tropical. If I can create a restaurant during the pandemic, I want it to be transportive. I want my guests to feel like they can have an escape. And then this came along. My husband, he's a guy that likes to look at property and what's happening in the city. And this is all for fun. He doesn't have, this is not his business. This is all for fun. And I think it's because, we're both creative people together, and he likes to manifest the idea of what does my wife dream of? How can I make it a reality for her? I love it. He believes in me. He believes in my flavors. He believes in my vision. And so that's how Kainoi kind of happened. The name itself, it means little chick. It's very playful. I think of this as my snack restaurant or my craving restaurant. The way that I describe my cuisine is really Laotian Minnesotan American. It's basically Lao flavors with Minnesotan produce and products that I can find. It's a challenge. I think that we're still kind of being challenged with the idea of Southeast Asian food doesn't deserve that fine dining essence of it. It's slowly coming into this arena of being recognized, especially Laotian food. Myself and my chefs really enjoy that. being able to kind of push the boundaries of where Laotian food is going. And not only just Laotian food, but that Asian food is part of this fine dining realm. Ever since 2020, I try to go back once a year, not only to be inspired, but to learn more about myself and about the native country of my mom and my dad. I have this passion project of because when I'm at the restaurant and I do a lot of cooking classes, it's very intimate, and people in these classes really want to learn more about me because Minnesota has the second largest Laotian community in the US. And so you know somebody that's Laotian, your neighbors, your coworkers. I feel like Minnesotans have always had that curiosity of who are these Lao people? What does Laos look like? I was like, hey, one day I will take a group of people to Laos, and I just want to show them around. I want to show them everything that I'm eating. I want to show them all the people that I meet. And so January of 2025 this year, I took my first group of American travelers with me to Laos, where I led a group, and I curated the itinerary to include restaurants that I really connected with, and include artisans that we can meet and learn about basket weaving, learn about textile, just kind of exploring places that I felt that was very spiritual, and that despite what your beliefs are in, there was a great appreciation for that spirituality of this part of Laos. And so I did my first one. And then I'm going next year, I'm planning to take my staff as well. And I also have a tour available, and I'm hoping to bring another group of travelers with me. Oh my gosh. I mean, I wish I knew what the future would hold. There's so many things I want to do, but at the same time, it's I have to be realistic. I think I have given up so much of myself to build these restaurants, and I have sacrifices that I've made. My twins are 10 now, and so I was pregnant when I still had lemongrass. I only had one restaurant and I was pregnant. And then the opportunity with Lat 14 came. Opening that restaurant and opening up a restaurant that in my mind was all about this dream, finally building this dream restaurant. I didn't take over an existing restaurant. I'm building my dream restaurant from scratch, and nobody knew who I was. For 13 years, nobody knew that, oh, that's Chef Ann Ahmed, or she's out in Brooklyn Park. Nobody really cared. And then, now I go into Lat 14, and I took a 50-year-old Perkins and I flipped that upside down and turned it into this sexy Asian restaurant in the suburbs. Who's that? Who's that? And that's when my kids were just born. They were infants, and there was a lot of nannies. There was a lot of Montessori school. Being in the limelight really made me make a lot of difficult choices of okay, what's gonna come first? And I would have to say I chose the restaurant first. My husband was left to raise my kids at that time, and with the help of my parents and my nannies. That's something that when you ask about my future, it's my kids are 10 now. I don't know how much longer in terms of that special time with my kids. So I still want to respect my space. Before I'm a mom, I was myself. Before I was a wife, I was myself. And so that is a challenge that I'm always facing. I'm constantly being inspired by those around me and places that I go. If there's an opportunity, I would definitely entertain it, but I don't have a master plan of opening 5 more restaurants. I have 3 incredible restaurants. We have such strong roots and foundation as at each of the restaurant. It allows for us to grow and to really embrace the community that we're in, and those are the things that I want to focus on. That's where I'm at. I'm really lucky that I have that I get to work up every morning excited about what I'm doing and how I'm contributing, and I have people around me that are very supportive and that takes really good care of me. So